Hello everyone, this is Anna from Savvy Cat Realty, and today I'm here to talk to you about Serra da Estrela. And it is just the right time because in Portugal we're just starting winter. So for those of you who don't know, Savvy Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agency that operates in the whole of continental Portugal. Our goal is to provide support for those looking to move to Portugal in a sustainable way, both for expats and for locals. We want to give you as much information as possible so you are settled in the right location according to your lifestyle without overpaying as much as possible. Of course, we work with both rentals and purchases, and we have all of our service information listed very transparently in our website. So please do check out www.savvycatrealty.com if this sounds appealing to you. So going into today's topic, which is Serra da Estrela. I'm actually going to focus in the central area of Serra da Estrela, but I'm going to give you a few overall things about Serra da Estrela. So Serra da Estrela is the highest mountain in Portugal and one of the few places where it actually snows. So Portugal is actually very rare for temperatures to go below 5 in most of the places, and extremely rare to snow in probably like 80% of the territory. So Serra da Estrela is one of those very few places that you get snow, and it's the highest point in Portugal that reaches 1,993 meters in altitude, so almost 2,000 meters in altitude. And we are just getting into the right time because the first snow was actually just a few weeks ago on the 6th of November of 2025. It of course wasn't a lot of snow. It's actually not that common for the snow to last a long period of time and actually build up. We tend to get like maybe a week, 2 weeks, and that's a very, very long time. In most cases, you will get like 1, 2, 3 days of snow and then it starts melting. So you rarely get very high buildups of snow. You generally just get a few centimeters of snow. And ironically, the mountain is actually not that well prepared. So we do have a ski facility in Serra da Estrela where you have the ski trails and the rental equipment and everything you may need. But ironically, when it snows, the accesses are constantly closed. So it's a bit problematic, and I always see a lot of Portuguese people complaining about this because, let's be honest, it's a bit ridiculous, right? If you have a snow estate, you should employ people to clean the roads so the snow estate is accessible when it's snowing. But it's Portugal, and yes, it's very common for those accesses to be closed when it's snowing. So, yeah. So I'm going to focus in the central area of Serra da Estrela because that's where I went to visit. It's also some of the most popular areas for people to go visit tourist-wise, and the most touristic destinations, let's say, of Serra da Estrela. Although Serra da Estrela is not exactly extremely touristic at all. So the biggest cities in the mountain area are actually Guarda and Covilhã. So Guarda is on the south side, and Covilhã is on the north side of the mountain. Covilhã is technically a smaller city, and Guarda is a district capital. However, when it comes to snow, most people tend to go to Manteigas and Sabugueiro because they are the closest part to the highest part of the mountain. To Manteigas, you can reach through Guarda and you actually have a much better access. But, and Manteigas is actually the most touristic village, so it's a small town. It's the most touristic town in Serra da Estrela, and it has a number of more renowned hotels and some really cool boutique hotels too. And Sabugueiro is considered, well, It is marketed as the highest village in Portugal, but it's actually not true. There's a number of other villages that are about the same height or even slightly higher. So there's that. So we went to Sabugueiro and we stayed there. We didn't go for the mountain because honestly, I am a coward when it comes to driving in the snow. I did that once, like last year, 2 years ago actually. I went to Serra da Estrela because I really wanted to see snow in Portugal. It was actually my first time seeing snow in Portugal. I saw snow in Pyrenees in Switzerland, but I had never seen snow in Portugal. So I went to Serra da Estrela specifically to see, and I also went to Sabugueiro because it's said to be the highest point and so on and so forth. And yeah, I got really scared because the car kind of slided a bit on the ice. So definitely, if you want to go to this kind of locations, be prepared for very swirly roads. And if you go on ice, definitely put the chains on your tires because it is slippery for sure. So to go to Sabugueiro, you actually need to go through Seia. So I'll talk a bit about Seia too. And I will be focusing on these 3 locations in central Serra da Estrela. All of these locations are actually quite affordable too. So I'll be starting in Sabugueiro because that's actually where we stayed for the night. And we actually stayed in a very affordable 4-star hotel called the Abrigo da Montanha. And it was actually under €100 a night. And it actually had a really nice interior pool with a spa, so with jacuzzi and Turkish bath and sauna, and a really nice view of the mountain too. So although it is not a very fancy decor-wise, it's more like mountain, like vibe, traditional thing. It was a very nice place and a really nice price quality. And the food was also really good. So this is not sponsored at all. It's just my honest feedback on that. So Sabugueiro is actually a pretty small village and it is on the altitude of, I have it written down here, 1,120 meters. So it is definitely fairly high, but still a long way to go if you want to go to the peak of the mountain, which you have the tower of Serra da Estrela close to the 1,800 meters, if I'm not mistaken, which is between Manteigas and Sabugueiro. And Sabugueiro is actually a pretty small location, but it became very popular touristic-wise for being a fairly high point in Serra da Estrela. You will find a lot of local product stores, and the typical products from Serra da Estrela are of course related to furs and leather products, and then you have the Queijo da Serra, you have some jam, especially chestnut, fig, and some blackberries, and then you also have the wool products being a big production on that too. So you will find stores with a lot of things related to this kind of products, and I personally tend to really like those stores because they do really focus on only selling things that are locally produced. So it's really nice to go there, and you tend to be quite affordable too. So it's definitely very nice to check out those stores. When you go, people really like to get, you know, the slippers, the house slippers with the wool inside. Those are really nice and warm, and they are known also to be one of the typical products from Serra da Estrela. And you have a really nice rocky landscape in this area. Being a high point, you have really, really beautiful views, both when it's snowing and when it's not snowing. And I did go to check out both. And I personally like the not snowing landscape more. It's kind of gives you the kind of House of Dragons, the Game of Thrones vibe because it's kind of has these huge granite boulders and this never-ending mountain landscape, so it's really, really nice. And like I said, the roads are very steep and swirly, so be prepared for that. And many of them are not in the greatest state, so do keep that in mind too. Then I went from Sabugueiro to Manteigas, which I actually don't recommend because the road is actually very, very swirly and in not the best condition. So it's a nice view for sure. It's a beautiful view. It's gorgeous. But if you don't enjoy driving in very, very swirly roads in the mountain, I would probably recommend going around through Guarda if you want to go to Manteigas specifically. So Manteigas is one of the most touristic areas in Serra da Estrela, where you have, like I said, some high-end hotels, and lots, it's like touristic, but not overwhelmingly touristic. It's still very calm. In all seasons, I would say. You do get like the high season in the peak of summer and in the peak of winter. And Manteigas is actually in a valley, so it's lower than Sabugueiro. You go down. You go down from Sabugueiro is like 1,100 meters, and Manteigas is 775 meters, and it's in a valley. And one of the things I learned when I was in Manteigas is that Serra da Estrela actually was a glacier. And the glacier melted and created the Seia river that goes through the Manteigas. And when I went, it was actually not that strong, the current. There wasn't a lot of water because it was autumn, but it still hasn't, the rain season hadn't started yet. So there wasn't a lot of water flux yet. It actually started raining on that time, so I went just at the start of rain season. So in Manteigas, you do have the Centro Interpretativo do Glaciar do Seia, which basically explains to you how they found out about the glacier and how the valley evolved because of the glacier and so on. And then you have also a number of stores of local products and, like I said, a number of hotels. And you also have a number of hiking itineraries that can be like, for example, my mom wanted to do the Percurso da Faia because we went on autumn and the leaves should be starting to change to the orange and yellow, and it gets really, really pretty. But because the summer lasted so long and it was just finishing now, the trees were still pretty green. So we should have been going a bit later. And another thing that Manteigas is known for is that it has 2 factories of lã do Burel. Lã do Burel is a specific type of wool of a specific sheep breed from Serra da Estrela that is waterproof, and it recently was revived, its production. It actually was like 5 years ago or so, and now you have 2 factories of products being made with lã do Burel in Manteigas, which was also one of our itinerary destinations, was going to visit those factories and buy a few products. I got the coat and my mom got a beret and a scarf and a number of things. So that was also one of the goals. And there are 2 main factories now, that is Ecolã and Burel. And Burel is actually became a very kind of high-end designer thing that is sold also in like the Gulbenkian Museum in Lisbon. And it actually does have some pretty cool designs, but it's definitely on the steeper side on the price range, while Ecolã is a bit more affordable. And both use the same type of lamp. Ecolã is also much more classical. You don't have more creative designs in Ecolã. So yes, when you go to Manteigas, you can definitely go check out the hiking spots and the wool, and you have places that you eat very well in the Serra in general, so you definitely have some really nice places to eat. You have also some streams and waterfalls. We did go and check the Cascata do Inferno or something like that, but it was supposed to be a waterfall, but the water was not falling, so it was just a water stream. It was still pretty, and there's, like I said, a number of beautiful sights. Oh, and we also got a really, really beautiful rainbow on our way to the Cascata, to the waterfall, so that was definitely a win. So Serra da Estrela is definitely a great place to go if you want to explore nature and hiking and a more quiet location to just recover a bit. So then when we went back to Sabugueiro, we then went through Seia when we left. Seia is at the steep of the mountain and much less touristic. So it is at an altitude of 550 meters. And it's actually quite close to Sabugueiro. If you want to go to Sabugueiro, we generally go through Seia because it's just like 20 minutes driving from each other and the view is quite gorgeous. So in Seia, it is quite less touristic, but you still have it's more of a small town. It's definitely much bigger than Manteigas, and you have a few monuments, and you also, one of the things I definitely recommend to visit in Seia is the Museu do Pão. Museu do Pão is it's exactly that. It's the bread museum, and it's quite a big complex. And it also has the museum, that it has the local product store, then it has a restaurant, and all of them are great. And they also sell bread that is made at the museum, which is really, really good. And the restaurant is also really, really good. It's actually a buffet restaurant that usually the prices are between 30 and 40 euros per person. And the food is amazing. So do keep that in mind if you go by Seia. It's definitely a place I recommend stopping by. And more recently, they also opened the Centro de Intervenção da Ovelha. So basically a little museum about the sheep and the pastoral cultural in Serra da Estrela. So we went by that too. And we actually decided not to eat in the museum and eat in another restaurant close by. And we actually ended up also getting a buffet for like 18 euros. So, and that was close to the Ovelha, to the Sheep Interpretive Center. And the food was really quite good. So, you have this Centro Interpretativo da Ovelha, which has a life-size sheep made of filigree. So it's definitely worth a visit, and there is a guide there that will show you around the museum and explain its contents, and it's actually really interesting to see. So regarding pricing and availability, all of these locations are much more locations where you will find houses rather than apartments, and they are definitely quite affordable. You have not a huge amount of market stock, but you have definitely offer. It's much more likely you will find things that are in need of renovation, that you will find new things. There's not a lot of new construction in most of these areas. And when it comes to pricing, Sabugueiro is actually the most expensive one, probably because of it being rather popular touristically, at 1,135 euros per square meter average price. And then you have Manteigas, curiously, at 869 euros per square meter, which was surprising, given Manteigas is probably the most popular touristic destination. I guess it's because there is a lot more hotel offer. But Manteigas is the most affordable of these three locations. And like I said, they are in the mountains, so you do get swirly roads. But to Manteigas, if you go through the Guarda side, it's a bit better. I do believe that from Manteigas to Guarda is between 30 and 45 minutes. And then the access from the major cities, it's a bit more. It's more than 2 hours to both Lisbon and Porto. so it's definitely not the most accessible location. But if you are looking for an affordable place for a quiet life, with beautiful views and beautiful nature, it can definitely be the right place for you. So I hope that this video about the Serra da Estrela in Portugal was helpful to you. I hope that you enjoyed the content. We are here every week with content about Portugal, Portugal cities, politics, and customs. So if this is interesting to you, do subscribe to our channel here in YouTube. We also have a lot of information available on our blog and our website at www.savvycatrealty.com. And of course, if you find our services useful and you are interested, you can always reach out to us at contact@savvycatrealty.com. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you all again next week. Bye.